Hey, discrete math students. Today's day 3. We're looking at a refresher on voting theory. So we're going to look at the 4 different voting methods that we learned, and then Arrow's fairness criterion, which kind of show us how there are flaws in every method that we learn. So once again, after you watch this video, please make sure you're going to that Google form and practicing so you can see what you know and what you don't know. So we learned 4 different methods of determining a winner in an election. There was plurality, plurality with elimination, Borda count, and pairwise comparison. We actually talked about runoff voting as well, but we're going to skip over that for today. So I just want to show you an example of each method so that we make sure we're kind of all on the same page about what those mean. So the first one and the easiest one is plurality. Plurality is just who has the most first place votes. The only thing that you really need to make sure you're paying attention to is this number of voters row. So C shows up in first place in 2 places, but that doesn't mean that C gets 2 first place votes. It means C gets 11 first place votes because these 10 people voted for C first, and this one person voted for C first. So let's come down here and let's write out how many first place votes each person got. So A has 14 first place votes. B has 4 first place votes. C has 11, and D has 8. So if we look at our first place vote count, it is clear that A has the most, so A is our winner. All right, so now let's look at Borda count. So Borda count is what we called like our kind of compromise method. So A won in plurality, but if you look, almost everyone else other than those 14 original people put A in last place. So Borda count is going to kind of take that into consideration and making sure that we're coming up with a candidate that everybody will be okay with. They might not be thrilled, but it's not going to be like their worst case scenario. So for Borda count, we're assigning points. You would assign, since there are 4 candidates here, there's going to be first, second, third, and fourth. You're going to assign 4 points to first place, 3 points to second place, 2 points to third place, and 1 point to fourth place. So Borda count kind of reverses your order in terms of points. So candidate A, I like to set it up like this, where I say, okay, 4 points times however many times they were in first place, plus 3 points times however many times they were in second place, plus 2 points, plus 1 point. Okay, plus 9. Okay. So if we do this, let me erase some of this stuff that I've written in the table so we can keep track of what we're doing. So we're looking for when candidate A is in first place. So that happens here. So we're gonna put 14 here because we know that A is in first place 14 times. For second and third place, we can see that A is never in second or third place. A doesn't show up anywhere in these 2 rows. So we're gonna put a 0 for second place and a 0 for third place. Sorry, my pen changed. All right, and then last place, A is in last place all of these times. And so if we add up that total, A is in last place 23 times. Okay, so I'm going to go through and kind of just do the rest really quickly since we kind of talked in detail through this one. So for B, they're going to be in first place 4 times. They're going to be in second place 24 times. They're in third place 9 times. And in fourth place, never. C is going to be in first place 11 times. In second place 8 times. In third place 18 times. and in fourth place, never. And then finally, D is going to be in first place 8 times, in second place 5 times, in third place 10 times, and in last place 14 times. So I just need a calculator. We're going to add together, multiply and add together these numbers. A is going to have a total of 79. B has 106. C has 104. And D has 81. So board account, its most point wins. So that means B is going to be our winner. So if we look here, 2 different methods, 2 different winners. So now what we're going to do is try the next 2 methods. So the next method is plurality with elimination. So I'm going to erase, let's actually erase this whole screen so that we can start again. All right, so plurality with elimination. So you start off with the same way that we started off with plurality. So I need to know how many people have how many first place votes. So A had 14, B had 4, C had 11, and D had 8. And the premise behind plurality with elimination is if we can eliminate people who are voting for a candidate that doesn't have very many first place votes and redistribute their votes to whoever they would like next, then we're going to end up with a candidate who more people are happy with. So candidate B only got 4 first place votes. So we're going to eliminate candidate B. They got the fewest first place votes. And then we have to go and we have to look in the column where candidate B was in first place. These 4 people will now no longer be able to vote for B because he's been eliminated. So if we look at the table, if they can't vote for B, their second best option is going to be D. So those 4 people are now going to vote for D. So if we recalculate our totals, A now has still 14, C has 11, and D has 12. All right, so now if we look, candidate C has the fewest first place votes. And that changed from what we originally had up here since those 4 votes got redistributed. So we're going to eliminate candidate C. So if we go to our table, the 2 places where candidate C are in first place are here and here. So we have to redistribute both of these sets of numbers. So this 10, those candidates would, once C is eliminated, now vote for B. And these 10 candidates, once C is eliminated, they would vote for D. Now, if you look here, B has already been eliminated, so we actually have to go through and cross that one out again and come down to D. So that means both the 10 and the 1 column are going to go to D. So A is going to end up with 14, and D is going to end up with 23, making D our winner. We remember back to our first 2 methods, plurality A1, board account B1, plurality with elimination D1. So it really does matter which voting method that you're using in order to determine your winner. All right, our last voting method is pairwise comparison. And we're just going to do a quick run through of how a pairwise matchup would work. So pairwise comparison, you have to list all of your head-to-head matches. So like A is going to compete against B, A would have to compete against C, A would have to compete against D, and then B would have to compete against A, but that matchup is already shown over here, so I don't need to write it again. So we just need B versus C, B versus D, and then C versus D. So the way that you tell who wins a matchup is you're looking at each column. You want to see who has the highest ranking in that column, and then those votes go to that particular candidate. So in our A versus B matchup, if I look at my first column, A's here, B's here. So A is ranked higher, so A is going to get those 14 votes. All right, then if I look at my next column, B is ranked higher than A, so B is going to get those 10 votes. All right, if I look at my third column, B is still ranked higher than A, so B is going to get those 8 points. And if you notice, it does not matter that B is in first place. It's not first place votes, it's in each column who's ranked higher. So in the last two columns, B is also ranked higher, so +4, +1. If we look at our total, 14 to 23, B is our winner. So you would go through and you would do that for every single matchup. So in A versus C, C wins. Sorry, let me get a color we can see. C wins, then D wins, then C wins, then B wins, then C wins. So what we're looking for is who has the most wins in the head-to-head matchup column. So A never won, B won twice, C won 3 times, and D won once. So C is our winner in pairwise comparison. So with this particular example, we had 4 different voting methods, 4 different people won, depending on which method we used. All right, if you've got any questions on any of these voting methods, make sure you're going to the collaboration document to ask those questions so that your classmates and I can help you out before you start on the Google form. The last thing I want to remind you guys about are Arrow's fairness criterion. So these are ways that each voting method kind of shows us that it violates one of these fairness criterion, which just means that not all of our voting methods or none of our voting methods are fair. So the majority criterion, this one tells us that if a candidate has the majority, so over half of the first place votes, they should win the election. So when that does not happen, then that's a violation of the majority criterion. The Borda count is the only method that violates the majority criterion. All right, the Condorcet criterion tells you that a Condorcet candidate should win, and a Condorcet candidate is a candidate who wins all of their head-to-head pairwise matchups. So if you win every single matchup against your opponent, then you should be the winner. If that doesn't happen, it's a violation of the Condorcet criterion. All right, the monotonicity criterion tells us that if for some reason, the election has to be redone, and somebody moves a candidate up in their ballots that already won the election, and then suddenly that affects the final results. So somebody has moved up in the election, they should still end up winning, but they don't. And this most commonly is violated with plurality, with elimination. All right, finally, independence of irrelevant alternatives, we abbreviated that as IIA. That just tells us that if we eliminate a candidate from the race, and that candidate was not originally the winner, it shouldn't change the winner, but sometimes it does, so that's a violation of the IIA. So if we get rid of a candidate who is not the winner, and somehow that changes who the winner is, that's a violation of the IIA criterion. All right, so if you've got any questions, please make sure you go to the collaboration document and you ask about them, and then go to your Google form, try to answer those questions, and if you get any incorrect, try to go back and fix those using the feedback provided. Hope you guys are all doing well.